Hey guys, Space Guru 5 here, bringing you my first official rant since 2012. Today's topic is going to concern racism in modern society. I'm aware I mentioned this on my blog earlier in the year, but I wasn't sure how I could talk about racism's prevalence in modern society. Racism is a very sensitive topic to cover, so I'm aware of the huge implications that racism connotates. I'm highly aware that there will be people out there who will vehemently disagree with what I have to say, and that's fine. It's totally expected. Still, I ask that you keep an open mind about this as I say what I have to say about racism. If you proceed to act with ignorance in the comments section, you risk being blocked from commenting ever again. You have been warned. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin.
Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too.
Before we start, I should clarify what I mean by racism, since its definition has been wildly distorted over the past test of a decade. Racism, according to most dictionaries, is intentional discrimination against a person or group of people based on their ethnicity, race, or skin color. This can extend into beliefs that one race is superior to or otherwise more privileged than other races. See white supremacy for further details about racial superiority. Let's also discuss the history of racism in America, since it apparently still has resonance in today's society. Long story short, in the years preceding the American Civil War of the 1860s, blacks were treated as inferior to whites. Blacks were refused many of the rights reserved for their white counterparts, and they were subjected to an endless barrage of epithets and humiliation. This extended into minstrel shows and even made its way into some of the cartoons from the 1930s and 1940s. In the 1950s, however, America saw the dawn of what would eventually become the civil rights movement of the 1960s, arguably spearheaded by Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. MLK advocated for peaceful protests to achieve reform, while Malcolm X was more aggressive in his approach to reform. Nonetheless, the Civil Rights Act was signed by President Johnson in 1964, which outlawed segregation and discrimination within all public establishments and venues. It was amended in 1972 and 1991 to allow non-whites equal opportunities to whites and to provide the right to trial by jury on discrimination claims and introduce the possibility of emotional distress damages, while limiting the amount that a jury could award. In summation, racism in public establishments has been dead for the past 50 years and is by all means a thing of the past. Now everyone has equal rights and benefits regardless of the color of their skin. Well, not exactly. And this brings us into the topic of discussion. Remember what I said about Malcolm X's approach to civil rights reform? I glossed over the details so I could state them here. You see, people are evenly split about Malcolm X. Admirers say he was an advocate for equal rights, while detractors say he promoted racism and violence. Let's go into details about why some would agree with either opinion. As some might know, Malcolm X spent some of his years in prison for larceny and breaking and entering. During this time, he became a member of the Nation of Islam. According to its founder, Wallace Fard Muhammad, the Nation of Islam's mission was to teach the downtrodden and defenseless black people a thorough knowledge of God and of themselves, and to put them on the road to self-independence with a superior culture and higher civilization than they had previously experienced. In essence, the nation sought for blacks to be violently independent of society and advocated for black supremacy. After his 1952 parole, Malcolm X quickly rose to become the face of the Nation of Islam. In keeping with the nation's beliefs, he advocated for black power and apartheid, and he also scoffed at MLK's desires for integration, saying that it was not enough. Some people were inspired by his teachings, possibly stemming from America's long history of racism. Essentially, they believed that they could make a better stance if they gave whites a taste of their own medicine. Why have white power, we can have black power. If they hit us, we can hit back harder, was the mindset there. However, Malcolm X eventually became disillusioned with the nation in 1964, and he rejected his teachings outright, eventually coming to embrace Sunni Islam. This led to 3 of its members assassinating him in February of 1965. Soon after was a series of nationwide rioting by black people that would be echoed in 1992 and in 2014. What with the Ferguson protests and whatnot. Even after Malcolm X's assassination, some black people held firmly onto his teachings and passed it down to subsequent generations. This is why, even though it's been literally 50 years since the issue of race has really been a problem, people still complain about racism, particularly in the black community. I know blacks have had rough times in the past. However, those days are over. They've been over since the Beatles landed in JFK Airport. Even so, that doesn't give black people the right to act like a bunch of ignorant fools. You have a bunch of black people calling each other niggas and who go on the warpath if non-blacks use it. So, I apologize now, but I'm pretty sure we're going to get a bunch of spam comments in here saying that I'm a racist for saying nigga. Even though they're the ones that are racist themselves. Think about the Ferguson protests that recently happened. You have a bunch of people, mostly blacks, rioting nationwide and burning down churches because a white police officer wasn't indicted for shooting an unarmed black teenager who had just committed burglary and was going after the policeman's gun. What is it that you want? Do you think justice should go like this? Stop right there. You're under... Oh, wait. Never mind. Normally I'd be shooting an armed hostile serial killer who has just shot a bunch of people, but you're black, so I'll just give you a pass. In fact, here, take my gun. Now you have the chance to kill me and other people, too. That isn't justice. That's advocating for black people to be above the law. That, in turn, is an echo of black supremacy, which is just as bad as white supremacy. Yes, it was horrible when white people did it, but it doesn't make it any less horrible when black people do it, or anyone else does it for that matter. And sure, the officer could have been a little less forceful. He could have shot to disable instead of shooting to kill. However, when you're a policeman, and you have any crazy fuck coming after you and trying to grab your gun, you let me know what you do to protect yourself. While we're talking about law enforcement, let's talk about how some people claim that the law is against them. For whatever fucking reason. Some people out there will say, why should I follow the law? The law isn't going to be on my side anyway. All cops are out there just to harp on black people and Mexicans. They're fucking racist. This pretty much makes the argument for me. It's because of this mindset that blacks and Hispanics are often the ones who commit the most crimes. Again, people still hold on to the we're above the law mindset, and so they go out of their way to break the law. That's the reason why cops tend to go after blacks and Hispanics. It's not racism, it's statistics. The cops wouldn't be doing this anyway if you weren't acting like a bunch of shitheads and acting like the law shouldn't apply to you. Just learn to abide by the law and accept the fact that you chose to live in society, which requires that you surrender some rights in order to receive protection and security from the government, as well as upholding the rights that you have left. Don't like having to live with that? Think that abiding by the law is too white? Go live in an anarchy. There's no laws whatsoever. It's every man for himself. Rights? What do you need rights for? You got all the rights in the world. You have the right to kill people and commit whatever acts of violence you could ever think up. In fact, so does everyone. Not a single damn person will be punished for killing anyone and committing whatever atrocities you can conjure. You fucking twisted fucks. There aren't any laws, so why would they? However, this means that you won't be able to advocate for any of the rights you have in this society, and nobody, and I mean nobody, will give a flying fuck about you. If that's the way you think society should be, I don't think you have any right to say you advocate for any sort of peace. You say you want peace, but all you want is just for everyone to revolve around you. That's not peace, that's rubbing salt in an already gaping wound. And as for the rest of you, let me just say that I am truly sorry that people associate you with these kinds of people. I know some of you are hardworking people who are legitimately good people. In fact, I'm pretty sure most of you are like that. I'm pretty sure most of you are right along with me in saying that these actions are completely ridiculous. I don't expect change to occur overnight, but it would help if people stopped acting like a bunch of ignorant jackasses and realized that it's not 1955 anymore. Racism is dead, and it has been dead since 1964. The only way for it to stay dead is if people move on and learn to forgive and forget. Only then will we come together as one race, the human race. Or don't, and just continue to spout incoherent garbage about how you're a nigga who gets hoes and gets paid to get laid. The future is up to you, so what you gonna do? Anyway, that's about it for this rant. I'm Space Creator 5, and please guys, if racism is ever still a problem for you guys, even when I'm 70 goddamn 5 years old, I will seriously reconsider living on this planet Earth. That is all.